Hello. It
Hello.
is so good to see you and to finally be catching up. We always do this, but it's the only way we can squeeze it in.
I know it's crazy, but
I,
yeah.
it's the best though. At least we're getting it in. So I have been inundated today with lots of questions. So we're going to go through them because everyone was so excited that you're coming on this week because there is no better week for you to for me to be doing a podcast with you. It's the perfect time. But first, I just want to start with how are you feeling about January? What are your thoughts on this whole new year, new me resolution kind of
Well,
feeling?
so from like a work point of view, I think resolutions are flawed, and
Mm,
I think it's about, tell you what I do think January is a natural punctuation and it is a really nice time to take a moment to take stock, look at the year ahead, look at the year gone by. And it is a really calm month in a lot of ways. It's a very funny old month because it's like after the crazy of December, even if it's just work crazy, it's crazy. Then
mm.
it's suddenly like calm, which lots of people struggle with actually and find it a bit like boring, blue January. Um, but I think going in punishing yourself, you tend not to last. You don't go the distance. Whereas if you're thinking about starting your January as a way of building blocks and starting
Yeah.
the year with intentions of building on that throughout the year, then that I get. And I think that it is a really good time to reflect on what it is you want to do for the rest of the year. So yeah, I think actually, January for a lot of people is really difficult, but actually just taking a moment and doing things slowly, um, not like slowly as in slow motion, but just steadily, not like moving really slow.
Sustainably, yeah, not kind of
Exactly.
overnight. I need to change this, this, and this.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of people who go to the gym who've never been in a gym and then sort of injure themselves or actually just get really delayed onset muscle soreness for days and then never go back.
And then
It's,
it puts them off working out altogether.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's just, I think the intention of of sort of thinking about what serves you well,
Hmm.
or and leaving behind things that perhaps don't serve you is a really perfect time of year to do that. But I think a bit of kindness to ourselves because you would not believe the amount of people I see in my clinic and it starts that. And I was thinking about dieting the other day, and I was just thinking, God, how awful! People literally spend their entire lives
I
dieting.
know.
It must be. It's just,
It's such a waste of life, like literally a waste of life.
yeah,
And we're all guilty of those kind of thoughts coming in and consuming us. And it's just such a shame when you look at it like that. Like you imagine the hours and days and years that go into that when we should just
yeah.
be, like you say, focusing on sustainable commitments that we can keep throughout the year. I did a post yesterday because I was speaking to one of my friends and saying that yesterday, like me personally, felt so anxious and so overwhelmed with this feeling like, oh my God, I haven't done enough over the festive period. When no one is emailing you, no one's bothering you, you have that time to actually, you know, it should be to just be with your loved ones and relax. But I had that feeling like back to school today. Oh my God, I haven't done enough and I didn't use my time wisely. And then I was like, and then she said the same. And the second she said the same to me, I then said to her, well, don't be so hard on yourself. You've done so well, that you had such a busy year. Rest is so important. And it's productive and all these things that I was saying to her. And then she was like, well, yeah, right back at you. And then I'm like, yeah, we're just so hard on ourselves. It's unbelievable. And to sometimes think of yourself as like what your advice would be to a friend,
Yes,
giving that to yourself.
that's such a good it's such a good tip that actually because once you
Yeah,
take yourself out of it and you think about it gives you that bit of distance so it's not so
exactly.
subjective.
Not
I have
so
to say
personal.
my December, my Christmas, it was so calm. It's the first time that I mean usually I'm the same and I'm like shit I've got to go back to work. I'm not ready. I didn't do enough, but actually I really really lent into doing
Oh,
pottering. I was
nice.
telling someone this today, and they said, "Oh, pottery is amazing." I was like, "No, no, no,
No,
not
no,
pottery.
pottering.
Pottering, the art of
To
doing
potter.
nothing." I mastered it, it turns out, and I'm actually quite good at it.
Oh,
It was
that's
really
actually
nice.
such a good way to think of December for next year. I did a little bit of that, but not enough of that. And that's really and actually a good time to to calm
Such a
things
good time.
down,
I know,
especially
it
kind
was
of
so nice.
mid-December onwards.
I know.
Um,
Although now I don't want to go back to work. So on the flip side of that, I'm really like dragging myself back today, going, right, engage your brain, think
yeah,
about things.
I know, and it's almost like easing yourself back in.
Yeah.
But I had so many questions, as I said, for you, and people were so excited, and also selfishly, I am getting married in March.
I
So
know.
I'm thrilled by these questions because I'm like, oh, I want to know that. So
Okay,
yeah, it's
good.
perfect. It's perfect. So I'm just going to kick things off by discussing the P word, which I feel like is the buzzword of 2024 with health and wellness, and that is protein. How much protein do we really need to be getting?
That is a very good question. And the answer is it depends on what you're doing. But I would
Yeah.
say the ballpark is about, I would say if you're doing 1.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight a day, then you're
Hmm.
probably in the right ballpark. That
Okay.
you could go down to 1 gram, you could go up to 1.4, 1.5, but it depends what you're doing. And I have to say that you see, at the beginning of the P word phase, I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
we do under protein. A lot of people are under proteined. Then there are lots of people who are really, who are really focused. And then with anything that happens on social media, it
It
gets
blows up.
pushed, it goes to the extreme. And then I find myself backtracking, going, no, 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 people, we do not need to have that much protein because it's also quite difficult on the kidneys. And I think what
Mm.
also has gone hand in hand with the protein, the rise of protein, is the loss of fiber.
Yeah.
So people are pivoting towards animal protein, but they're forgetting about the plants. And
Mm.
fiber, I would say, is if I was, well, no,
Equally.
I mean, protein and fiber, they're all really important. I mean, think about fats, people. Think about when everyone was talking about fats and it was all about fats. It's just like there needs to be a bit of balance, but that would be what I would say.
Yeah.
If you're working out a lot, it needs to be on the higher side. If you are having a more, well, you shouldn't be having a sedentary lifestyle, anyone. But if you're working, if you're just doing general maintenance, then you could go on the lower side.
Yeah. And do you think about protein, try like split across your meals? So thinking about it in the 3 meals a day, or is there a meal
Yeah,
which you kind of lean more into the protein?
I think it should. Well, again, it depends on you, but I think you should have a bit of protein with every meal.
Yeah.
The 30 grams at breakfast time is. That again, if you're working out a lot and you're really
Mm.
ripping up your muscles, then having 30 grams of protein at breakfast might be, if that's when you're training, might be
Mm.
right for you. But I also think there's something, and we'll probably talk about this later, but a lot to do with metabolic flexibility. Like, don't always do the same thing.
Yeah.
It reduces your options in your life. It gives you restrictions where you probably don't need them. But also, it's really good for your body to have a bit, change. It makes your metabolism sit up and take notice. So,
Yeah.
and then also the other thing about protein at night, I think it's nice to have a bit. I need carbohydrate at night a little bit because otherwise I'm just too fizzy. Um,
Yeah.
and lots of people do. So I guess if you're feeling very fizzy and you're just eating protein, then I would think about even, like a sweet potato. It doesn't have to be a bowl of pasta.
Yeah. Although love a bowl of pasta.
Love a bowl of pasta.
So just on the topic of protein, do you recommend creatine? I know on the last podcast we spoke about it. What are your thoughts on creatine? Have they stayed the same? Do you recommend every single person take creatine? And are all creatines created equal?
So no, not all creatines are created equal. But creatine isn't that. You can buy like a cheaper creatine, and as long as it's monohydrate, it should be fine, I would
Yeah.
say. Um, and yes, they stayed the same, but also it's interesting because creatine is being shown to be quite useful for cognition, which I
Mm,
think people weren't talking about, but actually it is. We're seeing
yeah.
loads of data around it. So,
So
so
interesting.
yeah. So I think, and I do think it's useful for everyone. Also, I think there's it's not a complete myth, but the water retention, people are feeling more confident because a lot of people were worried about getting puffy. And I've never actually experienced anyone get like that. I'm sure people do, but I think people are feeling a bit more confident around taking it now, which is great.
I think as well with the puffiness, someone told me that that could be down to dehydration. Is that right?
Yeah. Water
Yeah,
retention, exactly.
you need to really
And
focus on
yeah,
hydration.
and people think water retention is too much water, but actually your body, what your body's doing, because it's bloody genius, is holding on to water because it's like we don't have enough, so we're gonna
Yeah.
hold on to it.
Okay. Okay. So keeping very hydrated. Do you recommend 2 liters? Again, it depends on how active you are, I guess, but is 2 liters the minimum, would you say?
Yeah, I would say it is, as you say, it's kind of like 10,000 steps, a bit of an arbitrary figure, but it's not, it's a good gauge to go for. So
Okay.
if you're drinking less, I would also be wary of drinking, I see people are drinking, I'm drinking 4.5 liters of water. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Don't drink
That's a
that much.
lot.
You
Wow.
don't need that much, and it really dilutes your stomach acid. So then it
Okay.
might impair your ability to absorb nutrients. So two
Okay.
to three is probably about right for most people.
Okay. One sec, Rose. Sorry, we're just gonna have to pause because Casper's just walked in
Ah,
with his
the
very
groomed
loud
bee.
shoes on. Thank you for that
I can't
husband
hear his
bee.
shoes.
Okay. So someone just was asking whether what your thoughts are on dairy versus plant milk. Again, I know we've spoken about this before, but everyone talks about oat milk being the devil. I really don't think it is. I think Oatly has given the rest of oat milk a bad name potentially. But what are your thoughts on that?
I am with you, and I am not a massive fan of dairy milk unless you can find raw dairy milk, which is
Mm,
not so easy to do.
no.
So and all plant milks, I think, have got a bad name because all the crap that's been added to them. So if there are oils added to them, then they're crap. So don't,
Yeah.
steer well clear. But you can find lots of them, well, not lots actually, but you can find brands which literally have the plant, water, and sea salt. So whether it's almonds, water, sea salt, oats, water,
Yeah.
and a brand that we use a lot is Plenish, and
Hmm.
they're pretty tidy. So I think, I
I
think
love Nutty Brews. Have you tried them yet?
Nutty Brews.
They're
Okay.
so good. Actually, I was just laughing yesterday because I'm pretty sure it's illegal. But Sarah, every time she comes to Copenhagen, basically fills her suitcase with milk for me because I just can't find any good milk here.
Oh,
But yeah, Plenish is really good. Although I find it doesn't froth very well in the hot drinks, but I do
there
like
is
Plenish.
actually, just to mention it, there is an Oatly one which is just oat, water, and salt. It looks very
Okay.
similar to one of the other ones, and it does froth, but it is just one of my
Oh,
kids the other day went,
oh,
Mum, you're buying the
interesting.
Oatly milk with loads of crappy seed fats in there. I was like, oh, and she was like, oh, I'm joking. That's the level of joking we have in this house.
I love it. Nutrition bants.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. Um,
It
okay,
was
so
funny at the time.
I love it. It's my kind of joke. So in terms of protein, easy to make meals for those that don't eat meat. So breakfast protein meals. So for me, I love protein porridge, putting a scoop of protein in my oats in the morning. I find that a nice warm breakfast, or obviously a protein shake. Are there any things that you recommend? I know that you've had like tofu scramble and
I
things
mean, I
like
do
that.
love eggs. I think if you can
Yep.
tolerate eggs, eggs are a really good, they're just a
So
good staple. They're really fast.
yeah.
So I think those are pretty good. And also, another one which is so bloody simple. It's just a bowl of kefir with, I have
Mm,
cashew nuts because I just like the texture of cashew, but you could have
yeah.
any nuts or seeds and berries, and that's a pretty good burst
Yeah.
of it. And you can also add protein powder to that if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Um, okay, and then I just wanted to ask you what your core set of supplements are for January. What are you taking right now?
The list is quite long at the
Everyone just wants
moment.
to know your inside leg measurement.
Well, I am trying David Beckham's new IM8. I'm trying
Oh.
that out. So actually, I've laid off the others just while I try that because everyone keeps asking about it, and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm trying it. So, but the ones that I was taking, and I will revisit the ones that are in my stack at the moment, is I'm still taking Lima. I am
Yeah,
taking coenzyme Q10 from Thorn. I'm taking quercetin from Thorn. I am taking Dr. Wilson's stress formula, even though I feel quite relaxed. I'm anticipating the shit
Nice.
show that is January.
Yeah.
And I've been taking, I tell you what else I've been taking is and the Nutritionist Epitome because I'm trying her probiotic. And that's kind of where I'm at. And some
Okay.
vitamin D.
Amazing. Okay, so that's kind of a good starting point for
Yeah.
January. And okay, I'm just trying to get all these questions in. What supplements should an active woman in her 30s prioritize? That sounds like I'm asking for myself.
Brent
Asking
has
for a friend.
asked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, yeah.
Um,
What are the, because actually, interestingly, I used to be completely obsessed with taking a million different supplements and I would be like rattling when I walk. But now I've really reduced my supplements. So I take basically just a probiotic in the morning, magnesium, and creatine whenever I can remember. But other than that, I'm not actually taking anything else regularly. I mean, I'll dip in and dip out. Like if I'm feeling a bit under the weather, I might add in some vitamin C. Oh, and electrolytes. But other than that,
nice.
I'm not taking anything else. And I feel quite balanced and quite good. Should you be listening to your body? Or should you actually be taking all of these things that everyone recommends? Or if you feel good, is that enough?
Yeah, that's enough. And I
Okay.
actually think people need to trust that a bit more. Really, we should be food first. Really, we should be getting our fuel from food. And it's
Yeah.
totally it. There are some things like electrolytes, minerals, which are a bit more difficult to get from food just because the food doesn't have them in them. But yeah, you should be listening to your body. And also, it's quite good to just have a break, see where you're at, and then relook at a supplement protocol. Because taking them on and off, Bryony, you should take them consistently. And if you're taking them on and off, it's probably because you just should set them aside for 6 months. And then if you feel the need in 6 months' time, revisit them and get a protocol that you commit to.
Yeah.
But there are some for maintenance, which I would say that people should take, and vitamin D is one of those. So
Okay.
I would take vitamin D.
Vitamin
For
D every
women,
day throughout the year.
vitamin D every day. Well, you could take it in winter if you're in the
Okay.
northern, if you're in actually this one's out
Denmark.
today. If you're in Denmark
I'll
or if
be
you're in
doubling up on that vitamin
the
D.
Cotswolds,
Yeah.
then vitamin D would be good. I think, do you know what I think is really a good way to take supplements is actually in shakes. So I think taking
Mm.
collagen,
Oh, and
creatine.
collagen I take.
Yeah, so I take those two. I forgot to mention them because they go in a drink. But
Exactly.
collagen,
That's what I forget.
creatine, and a green powder like Pure Synergy is a pretty good broad spectrum support to take.
Okay. So that could
So
be all in your morning smoothie.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a really nice way to add. You can add things into a drink. I love a powder. Just chuck them all in, give it a
Yeah.
shake, and then it's a good way of getting quite a supportive protocol in place rather than anything that's too harsh or too specific or too niche or too
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah. That is a perfect segue into kind of eating mindfully. Everyone talks about intuitive eating and eating mindfully. What is that, and how do we approach eating mindfully? What does that even mean for someone that maybe has bad habits or habits that they want to change? Where to begin?
Okay, so just to say, eating intuitively was a movement that started a long time ago, but it's about eating when you're hungry. Now,
Mhm.
I think that's a little bit flawed because we it's hard to distinguish actual hunger from when you see something in a supermarket and go, "Oh, I want that," and then your whole body and brain is telling you, "Yeah, I really want that." And so it's
Intuitively, I would like that piece of cake. Yeah.
exactly. So what you need to do first is become mindful about how you eat. And I suppose I
Mm.
don't love the word mindful. I don't know why. It's
I
just
know
far
it
too
makes
wholesome for
me, I know,
me.
I know. Why can't we find a different
I
name for
don't
it?
know. It's so annoying because I use it
Mindfulness
at
as well. Yeah, I know.
But um, but mindful eating means I suppose when I talk to people about eating mindfully, it's about really knowing yourself. So spend a bit of time thinking about why do I want that bit of cake? Do I
Yeah,
actually want that bit of cake, or is it because I'm bored? Is it because I didn't eat enough at my meal? Is it because it's there and there are lots of different reasons, or is it because it's an
yeah.
afternoon dip? Is it and so sort of trying to
Am
be a
I
bit,
thirsty? Sometimes I think I'm craving
yeah.
some sugar, but I'm actually just dehydrated.
Yeah. So I think a bit of mindfulness
Mm,
around why your habits are the way they are it's very informative for you just to spend a few days really thinking and sort of going, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I recognize that feeling. And then
Yeah.
the other part of mindful eating is taking your time when you eat. So really
Yeah.
look at what you're eating, engage before you've even started eating, because that really helps your digestive tract. It helps you to get
Yes.
into the rest and digest. And so that is really important, and something that people could work on for sure, because it helps you to feel full quicker. It helps your body digest it faster.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those
One
would be
of the
my,
things actually that I'm adding to my millions of things I want to bring into this year is trying to put my phone away more when I'm eating and just be a bit more present with my that food moment, or whether I'm out or at home, and just taking time just to eat my food. Today is not a
yeah.
good example of that, rushing around, but I think just doing our best when we can, and I think that's a really good tip. And also, the more with this question on how to approach mindful eating, I do think the more other healthy habits you bring into your lifestyle, the easier that becomes,
Yeah.
because you're more connected to your body, you're more calm in your mind, you're more focused on what it is you actually want. So I think sometimes they all just kind of come hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, that I mean it's so true. And if you look at somebody who is very stressed or rushing around or not getting enough sleep, their body and brain will want
Mm.
more high caloric intake,
Yeah.
because telling you it needs it. And we just have loads of crappy food around to reach for, we didn't used to. And then now we've got a Mars bar or Mars bars, or whatever, like whatever, donuts. And
You,
so it
you,
becomes very difficult.
you know what's really interesting, and I don't know whether this is actually there's a science toward behind it, but like we were discussing, Casper and I the other day, that when you eat, for example, like those chocolates that you get at Christmas time, like Ferrero Rochers or whatever, if you have one of those out of the blue when you've not been eating like that, and a Ferrero Rocher is not bad, I'm just saying,
Got
but
nuts in
if
it.
you exactly healthy fats, but if you have something that's more processed versus dark pure chocolate, it's really weird. Like I have one and I'm like, oh, my mouth feels weird and my teeth feel a bit furry and it just feels a bit strange, versus when I have just pure dark chocolate or Hugh Kitchen or whatever, I don't know whether I've trained my palate. Is that a thing?
It might be. I wonder. I mean, it might be because sometimes they have things called, and I had the word a second ago and I've forgotten it. Binders. They're not binders. It's like guar gum and things like that. Oh, what is it? That are called. Oh, they make
Gums?
it. They make it jelly-like. So that's what holds things that hold ice cream together and stuff. So that
Oh, yes.
that you might be, maybe that's like they're like jelly-like substances.
Yes, yeah.
Um, so it might be that. I would also, I mean, it's just also it's less the chocolate, isn't it? And like you say, it's more the processed chemicals that are in there and preservatives
Yeah.
and colours and just
And you know what else that's helped me with my cravings? This is a genuine thing. Now I drink 2 matchas a day and I don't crave sweet things nearly as much. The time when I crave something sweet, and it's literally like 2 squares of dark chocolate, is after dinner. I want that like sweet kind of just to round off the day.
yeah.
It's more of a
I,
ritual rather than
and
actually.
I did some research on that because somebody asked me, why do you always want something sweet when you finish? And there's no clear answer, but one of the thoughts are that it hits the blood. I mean, not so much dark chocolate, but you know, mince pie or whatever it is,
Mm,
or like it means that the blood sugar rises really fast, really quickly. So then your brain goes, okay, great, we've got enough. And I was like, I wonder if that is true, because that would make sense.
yeah.
But and then you
What
just
to
get into the
make you
habit
feel
of it,
full.
to make your brain go, okay, blood sugars, we don't need any more blood sugar.
Oh,
We need to
that's
deal with it.
interesting.
I know. Well, it's
Yeah.
not, it isn't, it's just one of the theories
Yeah.
out there.
Do you believe in eating differently around your cycle, or is consistency better?
Well, do you know what? There are times I believe in behaving differently around your cycle. If
Mm,
you struggle in your luteal phase, then I think sort of, and this is things like hammering it at the gym in the second
yeah.
part of your period of your cycle. I don't eat any differently around my cycle, but then I don't have a cycle of two halves, whereas some people have a
Mm,
very clear cycle of two halves. And I think things like intermittent fasting, for example, in your second half of your cycle, if you do struggle with a luteal phase dysfunction, then intermittent fasting, you need to be a bit kinder. You need to reduce the stress, and you need to, like, do slightly more restorative things in that
Yeah.
part. But yeah, it depends on you.
I am ravenous just
In the
before
second,
my period. Yeah.
I do get hungry actually. Just before my period, I do get hungry, and I'm like, oh, must be time.
Yeah, it's such an indicator for me. It's so funny. What are the best foods to help with bloating or to reduce bloating? Or rather, what are
Um,
the worst ones to eat? It's kind of like the
Depends what's causing it. And I know that's a really annoying answer, but if it's bacterial, if your bacteria are being misbehaving and that's what's causing
mm,
the bloating, then actually the answer is to try and eat more fiber, because you want to feed the good bacteria, but that takes a few weeks to kick in, and you'll hear people going, "Oh my God, it's made it worse."
yeah,
But you kind of want to reduce, bad bacteria love things like sugar, good bacteria love, fiber. So I suppose that would be the simplest thing to do. If it's a lot of people get bloated because they're sedentary all day. So if you notice
yeah,
you're getting more and more bloated as the day goes on, try moving 5 times that day for 10 minutes and see if that helps.
yeah. That's so interesting. That's so true. I really experienced that.
Yeah.
But also, from my own experience, I don't know if this is a timing thing, but since I've started introducing meat, my bloating's really, really reduced.
Reduced. Do
Yeah,
you know the thing is that the fiber in plants,
or a
the
higher content of fiber.
the bacteria love it, so they go a bit crazy,
Right,
and they in themselves create um, metabolites, so they, like, gas, and
right.
so the more fiber you feed them, the more mental they're having a great time, but they will create
Hmm.
quite a lot of gas by
But
doing
it's
that.
good gas.
It is. Well, also it is good gas, but if it doesn't calm down, then it does show that there's a bit of an imbalance in the gut. And that's
Okay.
when things like probiotic might help.
Yeah.
Things like turmeric can be useful, apple cider vinegar, digestive enzymes, those sort of things
Okay.
can really help digestion. Digestive
That's
enzymes actually are really straightforward and really helpful for lots of
mm.
people.
I have the pure encapsulation ones. Again, I've
Yeah.
not been taking them recently, but they were really good whenever I had bloating. They've got ultra digestive enzymes. I
Yeah,
don't know
they're
if you've
really good. And like
yeah.
I say, and it's not, there are some really dead fancy supplements which I would be really brand specific about, but digestive enzymes, if you get a decent brand, they can be a complete game changer.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what are your thoughts on obviously the glucose goddess has just completely gone viral and talking about glucose spikes being the absolute devil. And if your glucose is spiking, then I don't know what you're gonna do with your life, kind of thing. What are your thoughts about that? Because honestly, like when I watch those type of things, I'm like, oh my God, I need to get on control of my glucose. But tell me your thoughts.
Well, glucose spikes, I mean, she's not wrong. They're not great, but they are
Mm,
part of life. We get an blood sugar spike, for blood glucose spike, from doing exercise.
yeah,
The body works very closely, because it will release, if you're doing lots of exercise, the body says, shit, we need sugar, we
mm.
need glucose. And so it will release glucose, and then you have a little spike. The thing is, our body is
Is that
really,
why when we do like the likes of HIIT, sometimes we notice that we're eating more and craving more?
you might find your craving. It shouldn't spike that high, but it does create a spike. So it might be,
Okay.
but so what happens when our sugar spikes is our blood glucose goes up, and then our body has to create much more insulin to bring it down. And then we
Yeah.
probably overmake insulin, and that brings it too far down. So then the body's like, shit, we need more. So then it goes up again. It tells us to crave sweet sugary food. So then it goes back up, and
Yeah.
that's the roller coaster that people talk about. So I think that the problem is that we eat so many foods now that create a glucose spike. And she's not wrong, because that is not it's not great. Our bodies should be able to adapt. As I said, it's good for us to be pushed and
Yeah.
stressed and stress our. But I think the fact that it's happening 30
Too
times a
much.
day for people,
Yeah.
it's really bad. And that's why type 2 diabetes is on the rise. And we are becoming quite insulin resistant
Mm,
as a byproduct of this, which in turn is, for people worried about their waistline, it's not great, but also just your long-term health, it is really not great. So
yeah.
I think don't worry too. It's like anything on social media, it stresses people out. But
Yeah. Okay. And any tips for energy that isn't caffeine? I need calming energy, but I wake up tired even with caffeine, someone asked. That's a good question.
I think, well, I would say that's an underlying, it's not to do with caffeine. I would imagine if you're waking up tired, there might be something else going on, like if it's just, I mean, it could be stress, like if you are
Yeah.
very, very stressed and you have been for a long time, that cortisol fatigue, that adrenal fatigue can just make you feel like you're never waking up. There are other
Mm,
things like anemia. A lot of anemia goes unrecognized. Vitamin D, I would say
yeah.
vitamin D is something you could really just try because it can
Yeah.
be miraculous.
Okay.
But
And
yeah,
I guess also focusing on the quality of your sleep. Sorry, my dog is just running. He's having a zoomie. He's just running around the office. Oh my God, chaos here. Um, yeah, I guess also looking at the quality of your sleep and ways to improve and maybe habits around your evening routine. And one thing that I do is keeping my, he's just going
is
mental.
he going mental?
Yeah.
Oh,
One thing that has helped me actually is, and it helps me sleep longer when I can sleep longer, when I don't have to set an alarm, keeping my phone away from the bed, like well away from the bed. So it's the other side of the room. I don't check it until either my alarm goes off or when I wake up naturally. And I think that's a really good tip because before, if I kind of woke up and thought, oh, what time is it? Maybe I can wake up now. I'd check my phone and then it would get in my head and then I just wouldn't go back to sleep versus do I need more sleep? Can I go back to sleep? Can I let my body relax into it? So I think that's really helped. And also not going on it right before bed has also
yeah,
really helped.
yeah. I mean, well, the blue screen, it messes with your what your brain thinks it's doing anyway, let alone the
Yeah,
stress. And when you look at and I did, and you look at Instagram just before, just have a quick look, and you see
quick scroll. I know.
one post that just either pisses you off or really
Yeah.
worries you, and then that's it. You're like, well, I wish I hadn't
Well,
done
there we
that.
go.
So,
Yeah,
well, there
yeah.
we go. That's another 2 hours of my sleep gone.
Yeah. Do you have any? I feel like you probably just sleep so well and just wake up feeling so rested. What are your sleep tips?
Well, everything that you've just said.
Yeah.
So on the health club, we're doing 12-hour digital detox next month. It's just,
Oh my
because
gosh.
actually 12 hours is kind of doable, like seven
Oh,
o'clock at
I'll do
night
that with you.
till 7 o'clock in the morning. Just put your phone away. What do
That's
I do
heaven.
to
That's a
sleep?
good day to do that on a Sunday, I think.
Yeah, just give
Mm.
yourself that time off. It's actually quite liberating.
It's so
Um,
nice.
it's so nice. So what do I do? I do sleep quite well. But I wake up early. I tell you one thing that really disrupts my sleep, which is actually really annoying, is booze.
Yeah. Tell
Really,
me what you're doing with alcohol in January, because we kind of feel the same way, I think, about alcohol. We're very into the balance of it all.
yeah. So I actually have been drinking less and less the last 6 months, just because of work actually, and
Yeah.
also I suppose I've just been actually looking at the stats on my sleep, and when
Mm,
I even have one glass of wine, it just falls off a cliff. I don't,
yeah.
and that might be because I'm older as well, that it doesn't process as fast as it did, or I
Yeah.
just didn't know when I was younger, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
But booze in January, this is where it's sort of like people start and then they don't do it and then they feel like they failed.
Yeah.
So I actually think having time off booze is, do it as a research. If you're going to do it as a research thing rather than a grin and bear it,
Mm,
and just like really look at what's my relationship like with alcohol. How do I feel without alcohol? Am I enjoying it? No, and don't.
yeah.
But so
That's
I
a
think
good,
that's a better way of doing it
and
rather
almost
than,
track it and then relate it back to the results you're getting, and that probably will help you be consistent anyway.
yeah,
I'm trying
exactly.
to, I'm not doing dry January, but I'm only doing 1 day a week. having
Yeah.
a drink, and that will probably only be one or max two.
I know. You see,
But
you're different to me because I'm a child of the 90s and it was quite extreme. So yeah.
well, I can be quite measured, but yeah, it's going to be my hen do soon, so I guess I won't be very measured on that night.
On that
But
night,
yeah,
no.
I can easily have one or two and be okay with that. But for me, the second I say dry January, then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, it feels like I think for me, I want to think about what I can add in rather than everything I can remove and restrict.
Yeah.
That seems more sustainable.
Yeah, and actually that's so true. And then as you say, if you think about just alcohol over for a longer period of time rather than
Yeah,
now because and then go mental in February, it's a much more, consistent, it's much better for you than
yeah,
all or nothing. I
definitely.
mean, I live with Festive Jake. That's what he's renamed himself Festive Jake over the last month. And oh my God, the man
Festive
is
Jake.
the man is bulletproof. And let me tell you, the
Those
guy,
prospects,
oh,
unbelievable.
it's so annoying. And he wears his aura ring and he can have a skin fall and wake up the next day, perfect sleep score. I'm like, so
Crazy. Casper's the
annoying.
same. It's unbelievable. And I lie
Maybe it's
there and I just look at him asleep and I just think, oh, you're so annoying.
anyway. So yeah, so we're
Anyway,
trying to get tame Festive Jake this month. It's not going so well.
well, January, Jake, I want to hear about that at
Oh
the end
yeah,
of the
we'll call
month.
him January Jake now. It's not
JJ.
different to Festive Jake at the moment. It's exactly the same. Anyway,
Well, this month we are doing the Pilates Promise Challenge, and I just wanted to know what your kind of promises are. We've spoken about having a more sustainable approach to the new year and not really like our kind of mentality is resolutions are out, promises are in, where you can actually stick to them. So do you have any that you're actually thinking, okay, I'm gonna like, do you have any focuses for the year or any goals that you want to share?
well, I have learned quite a lot over the last few weeks, and I know we're joking about pottering, but actually, for me, I was like, I really need this. I need to get my
Mm,
work-life balance in order.
yeah,
Seriously. Otherwise, I'm literally not going to, I'm going to, it's do as I'm going to try and do what I tell everyone else to do, which is really putting little boundaries around things. I work
mm,
every weekend. I work, and it's insane, and I'm
yeah,
not doing it anymore. So
love that.
that is, yeah, because it really, I was just like, what's the point? I mean, I
Yeah,
love what I do, but I'm suddenly like, yeah, my youngest daughter, it sounds all a bit sentimental, but my youngest daughter is in her final year of school. So that means all of them are gone. And I'm just like, where's it
yeah,
all gone? And so I am working very hard on boundaries
I like
around
that.
work, is what I'm planning on. I also have quite a big birthday this month.
Yes,
So I
you
am
do, which
trying to
I'm
get my head around that, which is proving more difficult than I expected. It's quite a big number.
yeah, but
Um,
honestly, Rose, you are just, and I can say this because I've been very, very close to you now, and I just love you. You are just stunning inside out. You're the just the best, coolest person ever. And honestly, if I can be 20% of what you are, are we allowed to say the age?
I don't know yet. I'm sort of, yeah, we
Okay.
can. I'm finding it really difficult. It's
Sorry, but
ridiculous.
if I'm going to say the age. Can we
Okay,
say
yeah,
it?
yeah,
50.
yeah,
You
50.
are an icon. It's unbelievable. And I
You're
know that your
both,
kids agree. They're very proud that you're their mum.
oh, but
Which I always think is quite telling if your kids,
yeah,
they're
we get on
honest.
all right. Yeah, we get on all right. But that's also another reason not to do dry January because that would just be a ridiculous
Yeah.
falsehood.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
So
So
actually
yeah, so
that being said, what are your kind of like, do you have any things that you would do and I'm asking this from a selfish point of view for pre-wedding as well. Like if you were to do a bit of a peak week that will make you feel amazing, but won't be anything extreme, anything kind of too restricting, what would you do?
I would what would I do? I think
What would you
well this
add?
is I would add lots of I would probably strip it right back to protein and veg. That's
Okay.
probably what I would do. I would keep it really simple, but I
No
would
carbs whatsoever.
I get carbs from my veg, so like
So you
sweet potato
carrots
type
and
stuff.
okay,
Yeah.
fine.
And I think that I'd do Pilates. I would do quite a lot of hot and cold therapy.
Yeah,
And I would do a juice day in there, which is quite restrictive for lots of people. But this is for me, I love a juice day.
yeah,
Just to lighten, and I would make sure that I was eating light at night. That would be the other thing. I would like have my main meal at lunch. This is, if I had the ideal week where I didn't have
yeah.
to
And
be
I
at
guess that's
work.
a sleep thing as well.
It's a sleep thing. Yeah, it's for sleep. It means that I would sleep better, but I'm also not very good at doing that. So that's why for me that would be challenging because I would have to just suck it up and just say, do you know what? You are eating light at night and you will sleep better and you might feel a little bit peckish, but you'll survive.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So I think that's probably what I would do. I'd keep it really, yeah, yeah, and that's sort of
What
something
I
like
now I'm in, now we're getting into it. What are your beauty treatments that you'll be doing before your 50th?
Well, I was thinking about that. Someone else said that to me, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet. I don't know. I
Yeah,
haven't
that's like
actually
me. I
organised."
don't know what do you even do before I read this timeline. I think it was in Vogue from ages ago, and it was like 12 months before your wedding, 9 months before your wedding, 6 months. And I was like, oh my God, like I've planned the wedding in 3 months. Like, what the hell? I'm already behind. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I've missed 12, 9, 6, 4,
yeah,
5.
I know. But it does make you a bit panicky. But do you have any? I mean, we both love Hada and
I love
her
Hada.
facials. Pandora is incredible for facials as well. And
I was thinking actually, because I was thinking about it today, I was going to think about seeing Neelam and
yes,
getting a bit of what did we do last time? It's quite good.
was
It
it
was
polynuclear?
microneedling,
Oh yes,
and she
yeah.
did polynucleotides, which I'd never had, so I don't even know.
Did
But
you?
anyway.
What did you think of that?
Well, I don't know actually. But I felt actually my skin looked really good after, but I love microneedling too. It
Yes,
really
I love
works for me.
microneedling.
But we did something, oh, we did microneedling and a bit of laser.
Yeah.
And so I think I might do that, but I sort of need to get my shit together because otherwise I'm going to go to my wedding, your wedding. I'm going to go to my birthday with like a beetroot face. So yeah, so I'd probably do that, if I can do that in the next week, I will. So it
Yeah.
calms down, and then have like a haddery, like
Yeah,
lymphy
sculpting.
facial.
That's what I'm all about. Like on the day or before, do like a
Yeah,
real
exactly.
deep facial massage. I
Oh,
can't wait to see your outfit.
oh, that's something else that's not been organised yet, but it'll
Well,
come.
you can wear anything and you'd look amazing.
How's your outfit going for yours?
Yeah, fine. I literally found it. I found it in this. So I basically had 24 hours in London before I went into Danish lockdown for my visa application, whatever. So I found the wedding dress, the venue, and the wedding planner all in one day.
You
Oh, and my
are
wedding shoes.
unbelievable.
And my wedding
Oh
shoes.
my God.
Yeah. So I
Not
just think
unbelievable.
people, for me, I didn't want being a bride to be my personality for the next 6 months. Like
Mm.
it's so exciting and I can't wait, but I also have so much else going on. So yeah, I just felt I was lucky. I found it really quickly. So yeah, I'm excited.
You're the
But
same. We got married in 5 months. We did
yeah,
it in 5 months too. It was like, come on, let's get this going. We want
I
to
know.
do it.
There's something to me, like there's something so romantic about like being engaged to get married rather than to have a long
Yeah.
engagement. Just to finish off, can
Yes.
you please tell me about the new business that you've just launched?
Yes, I can.
Tell us
Um,
everything and where we can find it.
Oh, well, it's sort of so after years of doing plans
Mm,
physically and then online over COVID and then after, um, I've just sort of evolved. It's just evolved into what is now our health club, and it's a members health club online,
yeah,
where you find all the plans that we used to do, but then there's exercise. There is advice. We have a club clinic. We have a doctor on call. So it's really supposed to be somewhere you can come and ask get like health support, obviously not medical, it's not like replacing your
yeah,
doctor, I'm afraid, but it is somewhere where you can come and get expert advice because I think there's so much
yeah.
disinformation out there and it's so confusing.
So
And
confusing.
so confusing. And after many years of doing the plans, all the people who did the plans were like, it'd be nice if we had a hub where we could go. And so that's what our health club is. It's literally an online health club where you can come. And we've just started a new feature on there, which I quite like because it's interesting for me. It's called In 10 With. So we're
Called what?
interviewing, it's called In 10 With. So
Oh, I love that.
it's the same 10 questions asked to different people. So we had Jamie Winston, we had Simon Salter, we've got Gizzy Erskine. I think Deepak Chopra's going to do it too, which
Oh
is
my gosh,
exciting.
that's amazing.
And I'm going to ask you, obviously you have to do it, but you're not in London.
I'd be
But
honored.
it's so that's what it is really. And there's lots of the recipes which are hilarious. When I started filming those, I was like, why am I doing this? More recipes. But
Yeah, but
so yeah.
I love your recipes. I can't wait to make your chicken soup this week.
Oh, that's nice. See, now you're in Denmark all the time. You've got loads of time. You can try
I
them
know.
and give me feedback.
I'm in my Martha Stewart era. Oh my God. Speaking of Martha Stewart, I watched her documentary recently. Crazy story. If you haven't watched it,
I haven't watched it, but it is a crazy story. But is it worth
well,
watching?
100%.
Oh, might be
Yeah,
good for
it's
tonight.
wild, wild.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this. And can you
Oh,
just leave us with one, because you have the most soothing, comforting voice ever. Like I feel like when we speak, I think everything's going to be okay.
it is.
So can you
Everything's going
just
to be
leave
fine.
us with one piece of advice for January? Because I know you're actually going to be on our retreat on, so this comes out Thursday. It's Monday today. This comes out Thursday. And then on Saturday, you're going to be doing our online retreat, which I'm really excited for. But just as a one little token to leave us with, what is your piece of advice for January?
I think it probably is. It will be fine, but I would put in building blocks now
Mm,
rather than being really active bound. Rather than feeling like you have to put it, like really go for it now. I'd actually be thinking about building blocks that you're going to build them for the rest of the year. So
yeah,
start, and don't punish yourself because those small steps you'll take, just don't go in too hard basically because you'll put yourself off as you said at the beginning.
yeah.
You just will put yourself off. So I would really think of it. And
Start
also I
small.
would enjoy the joy of missing out. I would really like
Yeah.
hibernate, really
Oh,
get into reflection and thinking about what
mm.
you want to achieve and then go about achieving it over the rest of the year.
I am with you on the hibernation. I actually have one of my friends flying in from London this weekend, and we're doing the retreat day together at home, cozy clothes, candles. So, yeah, we're in our hibernation mode
Hibernation, healthy
and
hibernation. That's what
romanticizing it as
nature.
well, making it feel really special
Yeah.
and making your space feel super calm. I think that's a really nice way to
That's
look at
what the
January.
Jan plan that I'm doing on our health club. That's what we've talked about. It's like even just like wear nice clothes when you work out, clothes that you want to, that
Yeah,
you feel good in, and just really
that's
healthy
such a good
hibernate.
one. Yeah.
It's like it makes a massive difference, and people forget those little things, but it does. But you
Make the
can,
extra effort for yourself. Like if you're running a bath, put your favorite playlist on, light some candles, put some Epsom salts in there, like go the
yeah,
extra mile and just enjoy it because
yeah,
February will just be back to non-stop, I'm sure. So,
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
thank you so much. This is so
Oh,
lovely
it's so
and
nice to see you,
you're the
Bryony.
best. And
You
I'm
are
sure we're going to have you on very soon again. So, thank
well
you, Rose.
anytime.
Thank
Later, love.
you.